All right, this is going to be a video on how to install the Dynamic Designs Gunslinger Pro and Gunslinger Basic Spacer kits. I'm going to go over how to install it on your Safariland holsters with the QLS system, as well as with the Blade Tech mount system. I'm going to show you how to mount it between your quick disconnect system, as well as how to mount it on the belt hanger between your quick disconnect system as well. I'm going to use the male half of the Safariland QLS for the QLS portion both times because that's what I have handy. So to begin, you take your kit. It will come just like this in the packaging with everything you need to mount it. The only thing you will need is a standard Phillips head screwdriver. So from there, you're going to take out the spacer and the hardware from your packaging, just like that. And this is how it will come. So you're going to take the spacer and you're going to lay it on your holster so it lines up with the holes. Then you'll take your QLS system, your mounting fork, and lay it over it as well. Make the adjustments that you need to so that the mounting fork fits exactly where you want it to. And then take your hardware and install it like so. You're going to take your washer, put your screw through the washer, and then just install it like you normally would. I'm just going to get those started there. And then once that QLS system is where you want it to, go ahead and tighten these down. I do recommend using some sort of thread locker on these screws so that they don't back out. Blue Loctite works great. And tighten these down. You will notice when you tighten these down that the spacer has a little bit of flex to it. That's because of the material it's made out of. That's normal and that's expected to happen. If you take this off after a long period of time, you may notice that that spacer has conformed a little bit to the mounting host. That's to be expected. If you have any issues with that, there's an information page about it on the website where you can contact me and I'll answer any questions that I can. So that's how you mount it in between your holster and your QLS fork. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple, and install is fairly easy. For the tech mount system, it's pretty much the same, but it has some slight differences. So you take out your kit, take out your hardware, and the main difference for the tech mount system is that there is one screw that is slightly shorter than the others. You can see this here. But that shorter screw is going to go on the bottom, because as you can see here, it's thicker up here and not as thick right here. So to do that, what you're going to want to do, same thing, overlay your spacer. You'll need the Safariland adapter from Blade Tech, which is this piece here. And then you're going to install it the same way. These kits, if you need the Blade Tech mount, you can either DM me on Instagram, shoot me an email. Email's on the website, and we'll get you squared away. In the future, you may just get all 6 sizes of screws with your order, but for the time being, that's how that is. And so the install is the same way. It used to be that there were no washers for the tech mount system because the washers I had for the QLS were too big. That has since been remedied, and it will be washers that will fit with every mounting system here shortly. Apparently I have a Allen head on this bottom screw, so we're going to fix that really quick just so we can finish this install. There we go, that'll work. And so the mounting's the same. You just need that one shorter screw for the bottom so that it doesn't protrude into the holster. So that's how it is on the tech mount. Same as on the QLS, just one screw different. Okay, now I'll go over how to mount it between the holster and the belt hanger, or excuse me, the QLS and the belt hanger. And take this off the same way it went on. And like I said, thread locker is extremely recommended, especially if you're going to use this in a duty capacity, or really any capacity. I think that thread locker is beneficial there, so it doesn't loosen up on you. So we got our washers and our screw. We just took it out of the kit. Like I said, I'm going to use the fork for demonstration purposes, but it's the same if you have the female receiver on the belt hanger. So these can be mounted on any belt hanger that you choose. To install that on the QLS system here, you would have it like this. And you need your included screws with the QLS system, which I don't have pictured here. And it would do the same. You just mount this from the back. Line up your spacer, like so. And then with those included QLS screws that you get in the QLS kit, you would screw them on like so. That way it mounts between the belt hanger and the QLS system. The reason for doing it this way, this is actually the way that I use this spacer mostly, is because I may not need it just for this one specific holster on every belt that I run. I may need it just on that specific belt. So if I have this hanger, maybe I have a different hanger like the Guardian Warrior Solutions bang hanger. It's a little bit lower profile, sits a little bit closer to the body. I may need that extra standoff. Whereas if I take this holster off and I run it on a different belt that uses the Safariland UBL, I may not need that standoff, which would make it more beneficial to run it on that Guardian Warrior Solutions bang hanger as opposed to directly on the holster, because I may not need that standoff every single time on every single belt that I use. So that is actually the way that I use this. That's how it's most beneficial to me. However, if you do need that on every single belt that you use, or for that specific holster on every belt, you can always set it up like this. As a side note, it does not come with the screws, or excuse me, the bolts to mount this through the holster hanger and onto the QLS system. You will need to use those included bolts or nuts from Safariland or whoever to mount that onto the QLS in between the holster and the QLS system. So that is the basics of how to mount the Gunslinger Pro spacer kit on the Safariland holsters using the QLS or the tech mount system. It's the same whether you use the 1/2 inch or the 3/4 inch spacer. The screws are just going to be different lengths. If you're going to use it on the tech mount, remember that the shorter screw goes in this bottom hole. Because of that shorter distance, you don't need a longer screw down here because it will protrude into the holster. if you try to put a longer screw in this hole. So if you have any questions, like I said, always DM me on Instagram or shoot me an email, and I'll do what I can to help you.